Our world continues to change and push us in ways we have not been challenged before. On this show, we talk about these challenges, how to be aware of them, face them, and overcome them in your life. This is David Waldas, creator of the Aligned Living System.
And I'm Nick Musica, Aligned Living Coach. Welcome to the Aligned Living System podcast.
Welcome to the Aligned Living System podcast. This is David Waldas here with Nick Musica. And our topic today is personal development. Not too far from the core of everything that we talk about and everything we do, but really going to share a little bit more about my personal development and what it looks like. You know, people often ask me about my work and they think of my work as what I do in these sessions, maybe what I do on the podcast, what I do in the groups I run. And I always say, like, to me, that's just showing up. Like, my work actually happens in my day-to-day life. And I've talked a little bit about that on here, but what does that look like? What is it that we're, you know, that when I look at my work day, most of it is the things people think of that they do maybe when they're not at work. But it's really, how do I prepare? How do I get myself in a space where I can sustainably show up and be there for my clients and be engaging from the space that I'm in right now, where I have this clarity. And so I'm actually in Utah right now. I've been going back and forth between Park City. I'm in Salt Lake, and um, I'll be in Sundance early next week, doing a bunch of personal development stuff. And you know, it's amazing how valuable that is for me personally, but it also is how I'm able to do the work that I do. And so there's kind of two perspectives I'm often playing with this is like, yeah, I'm doing this absolutely for me, but I'm also doing this for my clients because it's what I need to do in order to show up and do the work I do and be able to do it at the level that I do it. And so it's kind of a funny perspective of like, oh, I'm doing this for you all, right? Like, with this big smile on my face going, oh, this is awesome. But it's also challenging, right? It's also this piece where we go, gosh, in order to grow, I need to be two things. I need to be able to, you know, do all the work that I've done, find the mastery where I found it, but also be willing to be the novice, be willing to walk into these situations with other experts and go, what don't I know? What am I missing? You know, how is it that I'm clueless? And to then tie that into all the work that I've already done. But it's a really fascinating part of personal development, and something that I've seen the highest achievers that I work with absolutely embody that. They are willing to be novices as much as they're willing to embrace their own expertise. They're willing to go, what don't I know? Where are my blind spots? You know, where am I confused? Where am I wrong? And it's a weird feeling, right? To know mastery and to know the novice energy at the same time. And when we learn to do that and trust that, it changes everything. And so been playing with that a lot lately. And I feel like the more comfortable, the more safe I get inside myself, the more that's available. And so welcome, Nick. How you doing?
Hey, good morning, David. Well, how are you doing? You're the one doing the work this week.
Yeah, great, great. You know, it's fun. Been working with this guy, Dr. Eckel, and his wife, Kitty Stoneburner,
Hmm.
up in Park City, and they have this center, Energy for Life, and they work a lot with Parkinson's patients. And they also have all these cutting edge, basically tools, if you want to call that, systems that they work with that are
Hmm.
very energetic based, very vibrational based, and they you know, are in the longevity field as well. And so it's all about mental health, brain health, body health. And you know, one of the things I think is so fascinating is that when we start to feel better, you know, whatever it is, maybe our brain feels a little clearer, maybe we feel a little safer, maybe we feel more empowered, we all of a sudden new stuff that we didn't know was challenging for us starts to become in our awareness. And so I've often talked about this with the safety work, right? Like, the moment that we start to feel safer, we feel safe enough to look at the things we weren't able to look at before. And it's like they appear out of nowhere, right? You go like, wait a minute, but it's been there the whole time. We just have been looking at the whatever it is that we felt comfortable enough to look at. And so
Yeah.
it's been really cool doing all these, you know, different modalities with them, and it just bringing up stuff that, you know, I hadn't really thought of as a, even something I need to deal with. But when we're able to move into that novice place and go, gosh, what else, what's my next growth point? What is it that I need to work through? And it's funny because it's often very root-based stuff back from our childhood, back from, traumas we've experienced. And we go, oh my God, well, why am I doing this? Because it's uncomfortable, but we do it because it creates more expansiveness. It creates more room inside of ourselves, more freedom, and we become more us. And when we get to become more us, our world matches that, and it's pretty exciting. And so, that's what we do with our clients, but we also need to do it ourselves and keep expanding that next level because there's always another layer for us to work through.
Hmm. Yeah, that's cool. So is there anything you can point to this round of working this modality with this doctor that you can share?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, it's fun. We've been doing these so there's a whole series of things. What we do, like a far infrared light bed that gets programmed with these frequencies for whatever it is that you're working through.
Hmm.
And it's the same thing. Like, I always joke around with the stuff that I do. It's like, oh shit, this really works. It's like, because sometimes it just feels so far out there, when we're doing this energy work and we're, moving things around, and then we see these massive shifts in ourselves and the way we show up, and these sense of empowerment, and go, shit, like that little thing I just did worked. It changed things. And it's funny, yesterday being on the light bed, one of the settings is detox. And so, the experience of it is you're laying there on this bed and there's all these red and green lights on you. And it just, like you run one program and it does one thing, and you run another program of the frequencies that are coming through those lights and it does something else. And so I ran a detox one yesterday, and it was like I was fasting. Like 20 minutes later, all of a sudden I have a headache. I'm like, feel that kind of nauseous feeling. And I'm like, we pushed a different button on this machine, and all of a sudden, like, I'm having, like, it looks like the same lights are on, but all of a sudden now the frequencies running through me are detoxing something, and I'm having detox symptoms.
Wow.
I'm like so cool, like, right. And the program before that it's really about bringing more joy and happiness. But the old program, they call it depression. So it's to treat depression. And I'm not there. I'm like, I'm not interested in treating depression. I don't have depression, but I'm like, I feel like that's the code I'm supposed to run. And I'm like, because it's joy. It's like it's about following your passions, which is the opposite of depression, which is the
Uh,
codes that are running through that. And so running that one and just finding myself laughing more and like more relaxed. It's so interesting because when we're dealing with this stuff that on the outside it looks like like really sitting under a red and green light, and all of a sudden you're having these experiences. Um, it kind of feels to me like a lot of like my work where like, my clients going, wait a minute, so I just do this thing and I kind of play with my hands and I close them and I visualize this, and all of a sudden I'm having a different experience. Like, yeah, like hard to believe, and it's happening.
I mean, it all does sound like a bunch of nonsense. Really, it does. It does.
Right? And it
Un
works.
until you have an experience and go, wait a minute. So all the buckets of things
Yeah.
that were labeled as nonsense one, nonsense two, nonsense three, right? Because I have a lot of those buckets.
Sure. Yeah.
And then you have a single solitary experience. You start to question all the things you put into those nonsense buckets. At least that's how I operate.
Yeah. Yeah. Shit, this is real.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And then it's undeniable. It's really it changes how you see reality. It changes your relationship with what is real.
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of it stuff just like it just like one of the things that's called a Rife treatment, where I'm sitting in a chair holding, basically this metal bar that runs a frequency in
Mm,
one hand and another metal bar in the other hand that receives it, and it just
yeah,
runs through my body. And it's programmed to run whatever it is that you're focusing on, and they do muscle testing to kind of see which programs. And so it's like it's to do with viruses, it's to do with all these different things,
yeah,
and it's such cutting edge technology that it feels like either ridiculous, or it feels like magic because it works.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right,
yeah.
versus the idea of like we're like all the future medicine is going to be frequencies and vibration, and it's here now. And so doing that, did 90 minutes in the hyperbaric chamber yesterday, like we get in this thing that looks like a submarine, and they pressurize it so it's 3 times the atmospheric pressure, and you run like super high oxygen levels into it, and
Yeah.
just feeling super clear and super refreshed. And it generates brain clarity, it generates like healing really quickly. It's funny, crashed my mountain bike last week and have a few cuts and scrapes on me, and I'm watching them almost dissolve on my body. It's like, it's pretty crazy.
So
But
how
yeah.
much, I'm curious, like, so is there a component here around I need to believe this thing works in order for it to work, or um or do you only get so much value out of it if you like are really resistant to it versus like give it to me, I'm ready to go, like
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
open to it, like
yeah, yeah.
how do those two, how does that one factor impact uh how this thing shows up or doesn't?
Right, right. And so, like we have the placebo effect, right? Like
Yeah,
that whole
yeah,
piece of, if I believe, a pill, sugar pill helps me, all of a sudden it helps me. And so
yeah,
there is that, like, and so also if we believe stuff doesn't work, like we have the ability to shut it down to a certain level,
yeah,
but it's also affecting us. And
right,
so like that detox, when I didn't even think about it, I was like, oh, cool. I didn't think about having detox symptoms. I didn't even think about even that it was detox. I was like, oh, I'm in the red light bed again. I'm in the far infrared. Like, this is great. I'll lay down and have this experience. And all of a sudden I'm
yeah,
having detox symptoms. That wasn't in my awareness at all. I was like, oh, this like that surprised me. I didn't think I'd have symptoms from it. I was like, oh, cool. It's pulling stuff out of me. I'm like, oh, that's right. This is what it feels like when I'm detoxing. Um, and so, there absolutely, I think we can enhance it through our own belief and our own cooperation. But like one of the things we did day before yesterday was did a sound bath with these crystal bowls. Absolutely amazing. Like they actually brought them, some of them, they did a trip to the King's Chamber in Egypt in the Great Pyramid and then played them there. And so they're infused with this,
wow,
incredible energy. And
that's cool,
so she's playing them and then from there went into uh, the treatment room where they basically pull, I think it was like 5 or 6 vials of blood out, spin them in a centrifuge, and isolate the stem cell like cells in your blood, and they become activated. Where they use a laser that runs these frequencies into them, and then they drip some through what's called a nasal catheter, where it runs through your nose into your sinuses and then drips into your brain. And so you're basically inverted a bit on a table. And then they also run the blood back in through the IV, that's been activated with the stem cells. And then they're working with a laser, breaking up and running the frequencies into these parts of your body. And to me, it's like, I'm as skeptical, to some level. I've had so many experiences now that I'm like, gosh,
yeah,
like it just keeps proving itself true. But that experience was like it was insane, like how much I was experiencing, how much was going through my body, how different I feel afterwards, how like the level of empowerment, the level of clarity. And what was funny was I was working with in the sound bath first, Kitty, Greg and Kitty are our husband and wife. Kitty was working with me separately there, and she said afterwards, she said, it was really interesting. As I was working in the room with the energy, I had to go all the way out to the edges of the room, and I still couldn't get far enough out, where I wanted to work. Like I was circling the outer wall of the room, and there was all this energy moving. And she said, I'd never experienced that before. I'm not quite sure what that means, but it was really interesting. Then we went into the room with the laser, and she was in there playing crystal bowls. Didn't say anything to Greg about it, to Dr. Greg. And he's running the laser, and then he's like pointing it out in the parking lot and running running it like off my body in my energy field. And so then after he goes, I don't know what was going on. I've never had this experience before, but it was like there's energy coming out of your thalamus, like the core of your body here, that was like this cone that went out, and I had to work way, way outside of your body with it. And so they both had these very similar experiences. And so it was really fun to debrief afterwards when it
mm,
wasn't communicated. And so like we get
hmm,
these things, they're like, oh, proof something's going on here. There's
yeah, yeah,
and that's how I know my energy field. It's just this massive thing that's taken me
yeah,
a
it's
long time
broad,
to learn how to navigate. and
right,
and
right,
and
right, right,
but it was so fun to have them both have the same experience and share it and go, yeah, I'm not sure what's going on here, but I'm not working just on your body. Like I'm working way the heck out, way out here for you,
yeah,
with you too.
yeah, which is sort of similar to what folks express with the aligned living work,
Hmm.
right? Like I felt
Yeah.
something moving, or I felt a tingle, or what this, there's, certainly when you're first stepping into the work,
Yeah.
as things start to shift and you start to recognize your own field,
Yeah.
that and then someone else says something and you go, yeah, something weird happened to me too.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, right, right.
right. Because you don't know really how to describe. There's no vocabulary in the beginning that you can
Hmm.
that feels like you can use it, right? Like
Hmm.
um uh, you, me, folks trained in this, we explain it, but it doesn't feel
Yeah,
like
even people
it's
that have done a ton of
tangible.
spiritual work, like it's
Yeah.
so different. It's so different.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and it's funny too. I often say to people when they're going, "Gosh, would it be better for me to work with you with the one-on-one program or the group?" And I would say, "Well, if you can, like, there's a price difference. So, like, if that's not your deciding factor, here's what I think should be: is that when you're in the group, there's going to be a person on your left and a person on your right and a person across from you, all having a similar experience.
Hmm.
And when you're having an experience by yourself inside this, it's if you're struggling with the belief and you
Yeah.
have people all around you having the same
Yeah.
experience, you go, oh
Yeah.
shit, okay, we're not having a mass hallucination. Like we're all
Yeah.
having this
Right.
experience. Like it makes
Right.
it very real and grounded, and we share it with them. It creates this connection, and we go, okay, this shit's real.
Yeah.
For people that are already like, yeah, like this is something I just get. Like when we do one-to-ones, they can accelerate. Obviously it's a whole different pace and it's custom to
Yeah.
them. But if they're struggling to believe it, they may actually move slower in one-to-ones than they would in a group, because they're in resistance to it because they don't have enough proof to, and then they keep second guessing what's happening. And
Yeah.
so that's where the group stuff is absolutely amazing as we look around and go, shit, you too? All right, wow, okay, so
Yeah.
this is real.
Yeah. There's I mean, it reminds me of like high school math for whatever reason, or like stepping into like the next version, of the higher math. And you're like, I don't know what the hell's going on here, right? Like order of operations and all the parentheses and all the things, right? And then Sister Thomasina, she was the teacher, right? Just be like, so who has the answer? And I'm going, I have no fucking idea what's going on. And someone be like, two. The answer is two, right? But that leads you to go, oh, there's not 30 people here that are lost. Like some amount of people here know what's going on,
Yeah,
which at
yeah.
least for myself kept me motivated. Like, okay, I just feel like this right now,
Hmm.
but
And maybe
clearly
I
there's
got
an
the same answer
answer.
too. Oh, I had two too. I thought I just made it up.
Yeah,
I did a
yeah,
bunch of things and I got it
right.
too as well. Yeah.
Yeah. But there's
Yeah.
something about that the group cohesiveness, which
Hmm.
no matter where you are, helps to sort of light the path.
Hmm. Hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, so I spent the first 2 days with them. Then I'm going to an event with Bo Eason, which I've talked about in here which is a really cool mastermind with people that are at least in their second year of working with them. Gonna be a great experience in Sundance, and then back to 3 days with them. So I mean, taking basically a week and a half right here of dedicating it to my own
Wow.
personal development.
Yeah.
And
And still doing work, right? In
yeah,
between.
yeah, fitting people in here and there as I can to keep up with my clients. But also that used to be to me like I would think of it as indulging in myself, like, oh, I get to go do this thing I want to
Mm.
do. And I've been thinking more and more recently about it, like this isn't just for me. Like this is what I need to do in order to do my work. My work isn't happening on this call right now. My work's not happening in the sessions or in the
Yeah.
classes. My work's happening now as I'm doing this because each time I next level in something, I can teach it
Yeah.
and I can help other people move through it. And it happens pretty damn fast. And it's funny, like this whole safety theme that's been coming in now, like that's been newer for me the last several months. But as I'm stabilizing it, like I'm finding like all of a sudden now I have the ability to teach it.
Yeah.
Excuse me, and open it up for other people. And that came from doing the work, like from indulging in myself and allowing myself to explore what I don't know, explore where I'm stuck, explore where I still have wounds affecting me. Because
Yeah.
we're never done, no matter how much mastery we create. If we think that we're good, okay, like now I can teach. Like there's always another level for us. And
Yeah.
I do see that with some spiritual teachers where they're just like, oh, okay, now I'm the master. Like, yeah, and the novice. Like, in the moment we stop being the novice as well, we're just tricking ourselves and we're not serving ourselves or the people that we're serving.
Yeah. Let's go back to the indulgence piece for a moment. I mean, there's
Mhm.
I think we talked about 10x. 10x is easier than 2x last
Yep,
week.
yep,
I think it
yep,
was,
yeah, I
right?
think so.
And I
Those are the
just
main
got
points.
to I'm still listening to it, and I just got to all but chapter 3. And there
Mhm.
was this he goes into wanting versus needing,
Mhm.
which for me was just like I feel like I needed to hear that right now. Because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
feel, as I'm listening to the book, I'm like I've largely worked in like a need type of thing. Like
Mhm.
I need the job, I need the money to pay the rent, I
Yeah,
need the
yeah.
things, right?
Which is base
And
level stuff, right? Like survival.
yeah. Right. And like and you can, if you operate like that, you will get what you need. And
Hmm.
his argument is why,
Hmm.
essentially, like go get what you want.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
and that changes the entire dynamic of how you operate and what your opportunities are in front of you
Hmm.
versus I need the next job
Hmm.
versus I want I want to grow a business like this. Those are two very different things. You can't do both. You
Hmm.
can't.
Hmm.
It falls
Hmm.
apart.
Yeah,
Just doesn't
yeah,
work. And so when you're
yeah.
talking about indulgence, like
Hmm.
it's it from using the word indulgence feels very need centric,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Like it doesn't
And
fit the
selfish,
need.
selfish. Two
Yeah.
words,
Versus
self-serving.
versus want, whereas I want to treat myself well so I can deliver these things to clients so I can have this experience because I want to, because it's good for
Yeah,
me.
and so I can live what I'm teaching too, right?
Right.
Like what am I
Right.
doing if I'm not taking care of myself and I'm not making my own personal development a priority, and then asking all these clients to make their personal development a priority, to make the life that they want to live available to them, but not do
Yeah.
it for myself. Like it's, it's so often, when I think about, like I was a high school teacher for a long time, middle school teacher, like what we're teaching, I'd look around at other teachers and say, are you embodying what you're teaching? And particularly I taught an alternative school that was all passion based. It was all about, following your passions and exploring them and learning about them and creating projects for them. And then, like, and some of the teachers, like that was just how they lived their lives. And other teachers, it was like, it wasn't. I'm like, you
Yeah.
know, how do we set that example? Like if we're going, okay, follow your passions. Oh God, I can't wait for 3 o'clock. It's
Yeah,
right.
right. I mean, a lot of the things we're talking about, like no one really needs them, right? You don't,
No, no,
it's not food, it's not shelter, right? It's
yeah.
not the physical things that we need to go from A to birth to death, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't really need them. But
Mm-hmm.
when we want them and we get them, it changes things and makes
Mm-hmm.
us enjoy our lives, allows us to enjoy our lives in
Yeah.
ways that need never can fulfill.
Yeah, it's fulfillment, right? Like when we're
Yeah.
living a fulfilling life, it only happens by us creating expansiveness inside of ourselves where we get to go after what we want, rather than what we need. And again, is it fear-based? Am I keeping myself head above water? Am I making sure I'm okay? Am I making sure everybody else is okay? Or do I really feel solid and expanded and excited about what I'm doing and passionate?
Yeah.
And it's funny too, like when I introduce the aligned living work to people, like it's a challenge for me of like, what is it that, how can I describe this that they're going to go, oh, I need that. And I often want to talk about fulfillment. And for a lot of people, they're like, I got bigger problems than fulfillment. I've got stuff like I'm working through, like I don't feel, like I'm whatever is going on for me. Like I got this problem with this work. I got this problem with, like these
Yeah.
third dimensional life problems. And like to me, it's always so not interesting to talk about because we solve those by stepping forward and going like, well, how am I, what are my passions? Like, let me move forward into this place inside of myself that we create
Yeah.
where everything I'm going to do is about, expressing who I truly am. And then everything just sorts and solves. But the initial call in, and when I say like, oh, I'm going to teach you about, like this place you can generate in yourself where you're going to just find fulfillment and you're going to find your passions. Like, well, that's nice. But really what I like to do is, figure out how to stop arguing with, you know, like whatever it is, or stop getting stuck in the same pattern.
Yeah.
And we often think about what's wrong versus what we want. Um,
Yeah. I mean, it seems like, I mean, even the question, like, well, or you're talking about, like, how do I get people to see that they need this? Or I forget
yeah,
exactly how you phrased it,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. Find
it's
the
like
value in it. Like, yeah,
yeah, like you will never get what you want by addressing the needs,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Hmm.
But I think you'll largely get what you need by seeking what you want.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. That's it. Yeah. And that's, it's like the idea of like when we're making our decisions out of discomfort because of what's wrong, we're always just surviving. We're always stuck in the problem. And the truth is the solution's not by engaging in the problem. The solution is by creating something else that is an alignment for us that lights us up. And now those problems are so far downstream that they're not problems.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the basics of it. So it's been really fun being a novice, and it is a weird feeling because I like to let yourself go that deep into like the things I don't know, the things that I need to work through, the places where I'm stuck. But in the greater scheme of things, if I stay in the big picture, I'm like, God, I'm not stuck at all, but I am stuck. And so it's kind of a weird feeling, and I have to let myself feel stuck so there's enough priority for me to go, I need to fix this shit. I'm not going to do it that way anymore. But I could easily just protect myself and feel safe by going to a place like everything's great. My life's awesome. Like I get to travel all over the place. I'm doing the work I love. Like it supports me well. I'm getting to work with all these amazing people and see these shifts in their lives. Like this is a dream. And there's always another level. And so like I have to set that dream down for a minute and go, okay, let me look really deep here. What's the next level of me that wants to come out that I've been in the way of, or my trauma's been in the way of.
Yeah.
And there's two almost like parallel realities happening. But it's a really beautiful thing.
Yeah. Super cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, great conversation, and have a few more days of it. Three more days. Plus the bow event. So we can talk more about it next week. But
yeah, let's do it. Can you remind people where they can go to find this doctor's work, David?
Yeah. So it's Energy for Life is his center, and I'll put his info in the show notes too.
Cool.
But really cool stuff that he does. Just so many cutting edge technologies that either look like they're ridiculous or they look like magic, but they're not. They're so scientifically based. It's so fun to see like medical doctors doing this stuff and creating massive results. Like his results with Parkinson's, unbelievable. And and so many other areas of life as well. So
cool.
Great stuff. Yeah.
Thanks for the chat.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Great to catch up. Have a great week, everyone. Thanks so much for listening.
We hope you enjoyed listening to today's podcast. And if you did, please subscribe so you can catch the next episode. If you want to learn more about the Aligned Living System and how it could support you in your life, check out davidwaldas.com.